Welcome to Permission to Be Human, the podcast. I'm your host, Mel Finlater, mother, coach, and curator of Permission to Be Human, the company and community. If you're a mom, know a mom, or want to be a mom, and you crave getting out in the world to make a difference, then you're in the right place. This is a space for moms like you to connect with yourself, your purpose, and your big, audacious dreams. Because when you feel your best, you can better you, your family, and the wider world. Let's do this. You know how there are those people whose purpose is so aligned with your own that they say something and pretty much everything they say is exciting to you? Well, Linda Grubic, who we're interviewing today, is one of those people for me. She and I talk through purpose and how she really dreams of building a community in the world, so similar to my ambition of creating this together world. And Linda describes herself, so she's a family and individual life coach that supports you to find your why, to be who you want to be so you can get to where you need to get. She's the author of a children's book series called Blooming Petals, which is centered on the science of positive psychology. And her big audacious dream is to empower individuals in their pursuit of happiness as it intertwines with the collective pursuit, fostering a global tapestry of human flourishing that transcends generations. Basically, Linda works with the parents by working through the kids, and her book series is incredible, so please do check it out. Have a listen to our conversation today, and you'll get all the details for all of that at the end and in our notes. Hi, Linda. It is so nice to have you here with me today and to hear all about your big audacious dream and the incredible work that you are doing with parents out there, as it is making an impact on the world. And that's what this is all about, right? So welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here, Mel. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, and I love that we can share your work, but also your story with the world, because moms, we need to hear that people are out there doing this, right? That they're at the next phase of the journey than we perhaps are, so that we can start to believe that we can do that too. So,
yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you. Who's Linda?
So who is Linda? Linda is a person who is now able to put herself out in the world the way that she was living her whole life. From the moment I became a parent, I felt that everything I did and thought has led me to this point. During the pandemic, it afforded me the opportunity to, get myself involved in positive psychology and in well-being and flourishing, and leading to coaching. And what resonated with me is that it connected so strongly to how I was living and the impact that I saw that it can do for individuals if we just take a moment to reflect on ourselves and to move forward. And so my desire now is to instill that in other individuals, to know that they are empowered to have the balance in their life that they want to have, stemming all from looking within yourself so that you can then nurture yourself and bring that out to others.
Amazing. Yeah. So it sounds like you've had that journey of really looking inwards to figure out, like, who's Linda, right? And then, and I'm sure it's an ongoing process, right? It's not something we could just stop.
No, absolutely. I am always growing, and it is a journey and it is a process. Where I'm so fortunate is that I feel that I have found my space where I can fulfill my purpose now. I know my direction, and so all of the stumbles that I have, all of the successes that I have, they're all still a part of my journey. And I'm able to, put that together with sort of the science-based research that we learn in all of positive psychology and bring that together to bring it to others. And I'm not there yet. I'm still learning and growing and trying to make that societal impact.
Amazing. And I think you bring up a really important topic there that we as humans will all naturally be doing, which is like trying to find our purpose, right? Trying to, and that's how I say that intentionally that way. As I know, we don't say it that way, but the way that most people think is I need to find my purpose. Where is it? Like it's out there somewhere in the world and we're all seeking it, right? And I love that you're sharing that in order to do that, it was about connecting inwards. And I'll put different words on it than you said, but that by connecting inwards, you're connecting with that purpose that's already in you, right? As you said before, you've done it since you were a lot like born, right? That purpose is there.
Yeah. And so that's a good reframe, that it's not about finding the purpose, but it's about being curious and exposing your purpose.
Mm.
And I think naturally the choices that we make, how we use our traits and what we choose to put our energy into, I think that all leads to us wanting and desiring for that purpose to come out. And I think once you connect with that, I think it brings a sense of whole being to you. And I think it
Mm.
lights up that person because you can feel it. You can feel it. It it's not something you will find. It is something that you will explore. And through everything that you go through, it will lead you to where you need to be if you just continue to, you know, do different interventions and strategies that keep you balanced and keep you focused on what truly is important to you.
Yeah. So, what's truly important to you?
Truly important to me is being myself so that I can show up in the best way possible for others. And extending to that is then it leads to a more empowered society. I think that we there's a lot that we have given up expecting other organizations or other parts of society to take care of for us. And for me, at the end of the day, it comes back to me and what I can do to make it better. And I think if that then ripples out into more and more people, then you have a society that is building stronger and kind of coming back to somewhat basics, foundations of what is truly important to an individual and how that then makes everything else better.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. I love the peace. Like I just have this word peace coming into my mind right now that I can sense in you, knowing that your purpose or what's important to you is simply to make a difference and to empower people enough to be able to do that as well. And that ripple effect that you're talking about when we do that on society as a whole. And yeah, and the fact that that would lead, as you say, the good things that happen, that's not really the word I want to use there, but the like positives that happen, but also where you stumble is all part of that process, right? When you can have a purpose that is simply to do your best to empower people and make the world a better place.
Yes. And I think it's important to acknowledge that we all stumble, we all have positives, we all go through different phases in our lives, whether personally or professionally. And I think one thing that is helpful is to let go of perhaps what was. Sometimes when we go through a change and we're longing for how it used to be, it can add a hindrance to us to accepting all the beauty that is around us through this change. And I find with the passing of time, often, you know, people come back and they'll reminisce on it. And whether it was a stumble or a success, it will be a positive in the conversation as they reflect. And so I want to empower individuals to know that nothing is forever. And when something is coming across as difficult, there's a lot that we can do within ourselves to be resilient and to look at how can I rise above this? What do I do well? What can I, learn from this? If I have a weakness, how can I bring that in as a strength and move forward? So it's really just about embracing the ebbs and the flows of the different moments in our lives, because the good never lasts and the bad never lasts.
Yeah. Yeah. The good never lasts and the bad never lasts. Yeah. Nice. So tell us, with all of that in mind, we know your purpose. I'm almost curious, it might even be the same answer, it might be different, but what is your big audacious dream?
My big audacious dream is for a focus on community. My whole drive of connecting with individuals to feel empowered and in control of themselves so that they can best relate to others is because I want a sense of community to return. I think both through the last few years and with a lot of face-to-face disconnect, I want to bring that back. I want communities to connect to one another, to be resilient, and to sort of take accountability for their authenticity and also how they're showing up and what they're doing for their community. Things will only come together if we're all doing it together. And that doesn't mean having to agree. It just means learning how to communicate and learning how to listen. And so that is my audacious goal, is to have people connecting so that we are our best selves. We bring that to our children and they continue to pass that down to their generations, as they come.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And I don't know if I've ever shared with you mine, but it's so similar, right? I call it the dream that I want that won't be achieved in my lifetime, right? Because it's so big, is to create a together world. And you just
Oh, I
described
love
it to
that.
a T,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And like you say, we don't have to agree on everything, but we're there supporting each other
Yeah.
and we're listening being a key part of it all. And
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see how you do that and experiment with how to do that. And
Yes.
yeah. So how are you doing? Like what does that look like right now?
So right now there's a few things that I'm engaged in. There's a signature program that we're launching at the beginning of April, which is called Empowered Parenting, Nurturing Yourself so that you can nurture your child. And then also the coaching that I have been doing has been very, very fulfilling. It begins as individual coaching, but the end result is always coming together as a group. And I find that there is a lot of strength in meeting as a group. I think it makes things lighter, makes you feel less alone, and just brings a bit of realization that what you're going through is not just what you're going through. We all go through it. And so, with the coaching and with the focus on the children and with the books that I've written, I really, really want to just continue to build those communities and have those groups come together, whether they be in person with local individuals or online. I'm just finding that connection really resonates with people, and there's a lot of comfort that individuals get from talking with other people. And then it makes my job easy because you have just made that connection. And then as you're introducing different, strategies that can help individuals, it just lets them feel that they are in control and that they can go and then share that with others. So the one quote that I have in all of my books that for me sums up my audacious goal. It reads, every little human deserves to have a big human to nurture their journey through nature. Every big human deserves the same in return.
Hmm.
And for me, I think it balances the nature versus nurture debate and reminds us that there's always a child inside of us. And that is the premise of every angle that I come at in terms of bringing people together and helping them find the balance that they want. And that's pretty much what the positive psychology coaching does. And it opens their eyes. And for many of them, they realize they're already doing a lot of these things, but without sometimes being aware or labeling it or having a real understanding of how it ties into other things, you can put it to the side as not being something very important or valuable that you're doing. So it's really a whole perspective shift of the individual and bringing people together, working on relationships, which they say is the number one predictor for happiness. So that is a part of that dream, is to build those relationships.
Yeah. There's so much there. I love that your dream is so connected to that purpose that you just mentioned, right? That it's connecting people to each other and to themselves. And through, one-to-one coaching, group coaching, and the various forms that that's going to take over the time of work that you do. Like I'm sure you'll mention later, you've got a retreat coming up. Like there's so many different ways we can do that. And it all ties into this desire of yours and this kind of knowing almost that that's the world that we're trying to create here. Yeah.
Yes. And the theme of the retreat is purpose
Mm,
and connection, both to self and to others.
yeah.
And I think it's important to know that purpose changes through life.
Mm,
At the core, you'll be driven towards something, but how you're going to achieve that purpose or how it will show itself to the world will also ebb and flow.
yeah.
And so that's why it's important to know you're not finding a purpose. Your purpose is within you. And then it will take you where you need to go.
Yeah.
And so with that retreat, the intention is to get connected to yourself and to know your purpose. Because I think when you feel that you have that purpose and that you matter, which is what everybody wants to feel, it will just naturally then affect how you behave and the decisions that you make towards everything in life and towards all the people that you meet.
Yeah.
So I find it very grounding and foundational to bringing a stronger society.
Amazing. And I think of it as like the why. If you can figure out that why, which is that purpose, right? Then the how
Yes.
is what changes all the time. It doesn't even
Yes.
matter what the how is right now. The how will come, and then it will come again, and it will come again, and it will come again, right? But it's that why, and that enables us to feel like we matter, and that will allow that the what and the how to come out of it. So I love that idea.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned the why, because I think that sets you up then for learning and growing. Because regardless of what comes your way, if you stay rooted to your why, you will stay genuine and authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that is a real driving force. There's a lot that begins with self and then just naturally affects everything and everyone around you.
Yeah, exactly. And actually I love that phrase because it makes me think it's so easy to think I want to change the things or the people around me, right? But actually like the only thing we can change is ourselves, and that's what we need to do,
Yeah.
right? That's not change ourselves so much, but connect with ourselves enough to be able to like be aware of the thoughts that are going in our mind based on what's happening around.
Yes. And
Yeah.
to grow, to continuously grow.
Yeah.
So who you are is who you are,
Yeah.
but we can always learn different strategies to be able to move forward and to continue to stay connected to our why.
Yeah. For sure. And that, and therefore connected to ourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I wonder if you can repeat that quote again, because I think it was really powerful and it'd be nice to like let it land properly in people's minds.
Yes. Every little human deserves to have a big human to nurture their journey through nature. Every big human deserves the same in return.
Yeah.
So it is ongoing. Your purpose is ongoing. It never ends.
Yeah. And tell us about this book that you're reading this from. Because
So
that's
this is
amazing that you have written a book, by the
this
way.
is the first of six. It's a children's series book called Blooming Petals, and it is based on positive psychology. And each petal, this first one is called Notice, Name, Navigate, and it's about positive emotions. And and then the next ones, they all have a little mantra to help guide us as a little reminder to take a moment and to pause. So this one is about emotional intelligence and learning to recognize and accept our emotions and how to best move through them. There is another one that is called Savor the Flavor, which is about savoring and gratitude. There's Breathe to Relieve. Breath work is underrated, and I think that is a wonderful, wonderful strategy for people to have. There's Make Empathy Last, which is about compassion and connecting with individuals. And one of them is called You Matter, I Matter. And for me, that really brings to heart the interconnectedness that we have and bringing it back to that idea of connection and face-to-face relationships. And then finally, there's I Am Smart, which is SMART, about working through goals and how to do that. And so I speak to the child and I speak to the adult, and I think they are strategies that we all need throughout our lives. So I think it's something that, grows with you.
Amazing. Uh, Amazing. Seriously. All of that sound, I'm like, oh, I want to read these books, right? They sound so good. And, our kids need to hear this stuff for sure. My kids, I'm always looking for things like that to help them in a kind of playful, age appropriate way to understand who they are. The same work I'm doing, right? Understand who they are, be proud of who they are, and know that they matter, even if they're 5, right?
Yes.
And I love that you're speaking to the parent or the person who's reading this book as well, right? Because on this podcast, we're often looking for tools and various things strategies that we can use to connect with ourselves and to connect with that dream and that purpose and that why. And everything you just said does that, right? Because it's such a bigger question, many questions within that. So I love that you're speaking to the parent who will naturally reflect on what they're reading to their child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I definitely want it to be something organic. So
Mm.
it's not another activity sheet you need to sit down and do, or, I just want it to become a natural part of your being. And
Mm.
so, as if you just hear that mantra, it will automatically remind you about what is its intention, and then it will allow you to also focus on yourself. And then coming right back full circle is about, showing yourself self-love, remembering these things, and then how they affect your child, and as well how they affect everybody else around you.
Exactly, right? Because we can directly try to teach our kids these things, but by teaching ourselves and then showing them that you do it, even if it's indirectly showing,
Yeah.
and we're a better version of ourselves, which helps our kids be a better version of them as well. Yeah.
That's spot on. That's beautiful. I think we are role models.
Yeah.
We won't know exactly to who. Everybody we interact with, they're going to remember something about you, and it's how you model yourself and what they take from that. And I think that to me is something that needs to be highlighted a bit more, that we, particularly with our children, we have a very important role, not just with our intentional actions and words, but also in just how we carry ourselves every day and what they are seeing in us, particularly in those first 5 years, right? How they say it's even just how you're reacting to something. If you have a difficult situation and you're feeling anxious about, those around you will notice, and you will be a role model for how you do engage with that feeling and how you resolve it. And so I think if that can be highlighted and people understand the impact that they're having and are accountable for and to themselves as well as to others and to their children in particular, I think it helps ground us and be more intentional
Yeah.
with everything that we do.
Totally. And, that's not to say don't feel anxious, because we will. It's
Right.
permission to be human, right? It's like acknowledge that you feel anxious, work through it. Even
Yes.
if your kid sees you work through that, right?
Yeah.
Then you're more likely to be the like human that you want to be with your kids
Yes.
from there.
Yeah.
Because, like as someone who has a child who has quite a lot of anxiety in her life, if I pretend I don't have it, that just makes her feel worse, right? One, she
Yeah.
knows because she's very much an empath and can tell. But
Mm.
also, if she didn't, I'm saying to her, like, you need to hide this, right? And you're the only one that feels this way. And that's not what we're trying to say, right?
No. Yeah.
We're saying you're human and you're going to have all the feelings that come with that,
Yes.
right? And then when we make a mistake because we were anxious or frustrated or tired or not regulated, then we say, oh, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't take care of myself today. I'm going to go do that now.
Yes. And I think that taps into empathy and the ability to notice in someone else, perhaps how they may be feeling or what they may be expressing without having to say it.
Mm.
Right. So that just all beautifully ties into how it's a real wholesome approach. It's something that, when you want to feel supported by somebody, it encourages you to reflect, how would you want to be supported? And by doing that, then when you can listen and recognize it in somebody else, it will help you to stay regulated and to allow to be the person that they need at that moment.
Definitely. Okay, so what would you say we've done a million tips there, but I'm wondering what you would say your top tip is for moms listening who you've got two different moms listening, right? You've got the ones that are like, I've got this dream. I want to get out there and do it. And then you have the moms that are like, I really want to have a dream to get out there and do it. I know that I want to get out there and do it, but I just don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So what would your tip be to our listeners to to do that?
Most fundamentally, it comes back to the why.
Mm.
Oftentimes we say, we want to be this type of person or we want a change, but we don't know why. So we're grasping for things and we're hoping that this will be the change that we need. So I think, firstly, connect to that why. Take a moment to reflect. For some, it's journaling. There's so many apps out there if people do mindfulness meditation. Be curious with yourself. Try and land on, why this is coming up for you, and really connect with why you want this for yourself. Because sometimes those thoughts come up because we think we need to change for other people or it will magically change a particular situation. So my recommendation would be is to come back to your own why for yourself. And I think once you connect with yourself, again, the rest will permeate into the others, and you will find the change that you seek, and you will find your purpose, and you will have that empowered balance.
Beautiful. And totally agree.
And it won't be easy.
And
It
it
won't
won't
be
be
easy.
easy. It'll be
And
really hard. And it's
you'll
actually
think
a lifelong journey often.
you think you're going in circles, and sometimes you get so many thoughts, then you don't know how to bring them together into one.
Yeah.
So, and that's where this whole idea of whole being and flourishing and the different tools from positive psychology come into play, because
Yeah.
all of those wrapped up with a little bow is what will help you come with your why. So
Yeah.
there's, depending on the type of person you are, there's so many avenues one can take to find what suits you and what lands with you.
Yeah.
But again, at the heart of it, I feel it's the why. How are you connecting to yourself?
Yeah.
And then I think that will naturally raise you up, and it will make you ambitious and motivate you to put yourself out in the world, to take the positives, to take the negatives, and to move through them.
And what would you say knowing that there's so many different strategies and ways that we could go about this, what's yours? What's your go-to when you need to connect in with yourself or with your purpose?
My go-to is, there's two things. I'm very intuitive. So I work off of my feelings a lot, and I will know if I'm barking up the wrong tree, or, sometimes I'm so inspired by somebody and I think, oh, this is great, but it's not who I am. So it's not what's working for me. So for me, it's being intuitive. But then also what I do is I reflect. In the evenings, I'm not a fantastic journaler. So I've learned that about myself. So I turn to reflection.
Mm.
Oftentimes for me, it's in the evening, and I take a moment to connect with myself. If I'm feeling at peace, why? And if I'm not feeling at peace, why? Tomorrow's another day. I give myself permission to be human, right? So those are two things that I employ. I use my intuition to see if it's driving me forward or backward. And then I use that reflective exercise to really tune into, how did I read this one wrong? How did I read this one right? And then I use those to drive me. I have a whole wall that I then put up, certain quotes that I love, or mantras, or certain, if I like a picture of something that motivates me. So it just kind of grows from that. But
Mm.
initially, I always try and come back to myself. So it's you is using that intuition and then reflecting.
Brilliant.
It's a lot of self work.
It is, right? And that's where
Yeah.
my curiosity now lies in, like, think back to a time where it wasn't as easy to connect with your intuition.
Mm.
And I'm curious of how you did.
Well, I wasted a lot of time. But in the moment, I didn't know
Yeah.
I was wasting time,
Yeah.
right? I was exploring, I was trying, I was learning. So there's been many of those where I'm
Yeah.
like, this has gone nowhere, and then it's about, do you give up? Is it because this is not landing with my why? It's not helping me get to my purpose. I need to feel very connected to what I'm doing. And you can often tell that because it will come out through my speech,
Mm.
through my facial expressions. There's and that took a lot of growth and self-reflection to even learn that, to understand
Mm.
how I'm coming across.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I wasted a lot of time coming to where I am today, but I've also saved myself a lot of time, because what I've learned in the end is that I've essentially just come back to who I really am at the core. But now versus the focus being on, my girls are older, they're late teens, early 20s. So through all of that time that I went through trying to find myself and seeing how can I now present myself professionally, where do I want to go with my life now as I become an empty nester, let's say, it's brought me back to finding myself. All of those times when I, tried something and what I say, was wasted time, in fact, was not,
Nope.
because that is what really had me grow.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, this is not working. This is not me. Why am I not going anywhere with this? Why is nobody responding to this? And
That's the work, right?
it's
That wasted time, quote unquote, is the work.
it is.
And you
It
can't
is.
just get to the end without the work.
No. And
Yeah.
and I think that's why so importantly for me, I was like, gosh, at the end of the day, I've really just come back to who I always have felt that I am. And now I'm just putting myself out there in a way that's applicable to my time in life.
Mm.
So it's a real reminder to me that as short as life is, you have so much to still live at any age. And you have to keep going. You have to keep going. You don't give up. You follow where your senses are taking you and be intentional. It doesn't just happen. So always be intentional with what you're pursuing and who you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love all of that.
Mm.
Thank you for coming. Let us know, where can we find you if we're super intrigued by what you're saying, if we want to buy your amazing books. Tell us where we can do all that.
Yes. So you can reach me at BU for you, meaning the BU, the letter for you, the letter. Confusing, I know. BU for you coaching at gmail.com. If anybody has any questions, like I say, connection for me is really important. And being a people pleaser, I'm oftentimes very much focusing on my boundaries. So please reach out with any questions. I would be happy to connect with individuals. Only the first book has been published at the moment. The second and third are
Stop.
currently.
The
Oh,
first book has been published. There's no only about this.
oh, right. Good
You have
point.
published a book, woman.
Good point. You see, this is about savor the flavor. This is
Yeah.
the next book coming out. I need to savor that. And yes, give myself appreciation. So the book that is currently published can be found on Amazon on all outlets, which is probably the easiest. And if you want to just learn a little bit more about the background and what's driving these books, because they are very intentional and do have a message behind them, you can go to www.blooming-petals.com. And you can also connect with me through that. And yeah,
And
that's
that was the title of the book, right? Blooming Petals. Is that right?
the title of the book is
Yeah.
Notice, Name,
Ah,
Navigate.
notice,
The
name, navigate.
Yes, the series is called Blooming Petals.
Got it.
And this first one is on emotional intelligence. Notice, name, navigate.
Brilliant. Amazing. I will be purchasing that and the future ones that you definitely will be publishing for my preschool. I think would be absolutely amazing, actually. So it will fit in really well. So thank you so much for coming today, Linda. I really, really enjoyed our conversation and look forward to future ones on this topic, as we definitely align in the work that we're trying to do and the purpose that we are achieving in our lives. So thank you so much for coming today.
This was wonderful. I'm like, can we just take this offline and keep talking? I'll go make a tea. It's great. It's and just this opportunity I'm so grateful for, because again, I've learned something from today. I'm always learning from it, and this for me was a really growing experience.
Brilliant.
So never underestimate, anything that happens to you in a day.
Yeah. And that's the power of saying yes to an invitation, which is actually like the perfect way to end, because I assume that you probably felt a little nervous saying yes and coming into this. And there are listeners that all of us, in fact, we're going to feel nervous about something that is stretching us.
Yes.
Right? And say yes to the invitation.
Yes. And I will say what also helps is having you on the other side, which comes back to that connection piece. When I do work with groups, it's so much more fulfilling for each participant, because if I had to, let's say, just talk to myself and put it out there, it comes with a different feeling. But having you offering a safe space, interacting, stretching my mind, asking questions, that's the power of connecting with people. So saying yes is the first step, and then it's just embracing and seeing where it goes.
Amazing. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is it, folks. This has been Mel Finlater on Permission to Be Human, the podcast. And I am so glad that you have joined us here today, and hope that you have taken away some tidbits that will help you go away, connect with your big, audacious dream, and make that massive impact in the world that you are dying to make. If you liked today's episode, please, please, please like it, share it. Think of one person that you think would also like it, and send it on over to them. Let's get this out there, and more moms feeling like themselves, inspired, dreaming big, and out there being them. Please do head on over to find me on Facebook with Permission to Be Human, or Instagram, or you can even pop me an email and say hello at permissiontobehumanalways@gmail.com. Say hello and let me know that you listened. What did you like about it? I would love to hear. If you didn't like it, I don't really want to know. Just kidding. You can share that if you want. I would love to know, however, who you are. Let's connect. Let's find out what you want more of. I want to hear from you, and I want to make it what would be useful to you. As always, remember that you have permission to dream big, permission to feel big, and permission to be you. You have complete and full permission to be human. For real, you do.